What's up guys, welcome back to the Streets YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about 10 events that's happened in football which nobody was thought about that would occur in the last decade. So first off, we're going to talk about Manchester City winning the treble. Now back in 2012, 11 years ago, Manchester City lifted their first Premier League title. On the back of that, they've obviously built a wealthy squad, but nobody would have thought in the next 10 years they would go on and emulate Manchester United's 99 winning squad and win that illustrious treble, and obviously winning the Champions League in the process. Next, we move on to the same season, obviously last season, Erling Haaland breaking the goal scoring record by 4 goals. It was previously held by Mohamed Salah, who scored 32 goals in his first season at Liverpool, and before that was held by Andy Cole and Luis Suarez, who both scored 31 goals in a season. Now Haaland came into the Premier League. Everybody knew he was an incredible striker, doing it both at Salzburg and Borussia Dortmund, but has since joined Manchester City, gone on to new and greater heights, and obviously gone on to score the amount of goals he did. Now obviously 10 years ago the record was still at 31 with Andy Cole. Nobody would have thought that Luis Suarez would have equalled it. Then Mo Salah would have gone on and broke it, and then obviously Erling Haaland smashing it, nearly a goal a game. It's just an incredible feat which I don't think many people would have predicted that would happen within the last decade. Next we move on to Saudi Arabia buying football. With Saudi Arabia, obviously firstly they came in and became the new owners of Newcastle United and gave them newfound much needed wealth. In all fairness, they've done it quite moderately. They've obviously bought players which before the ownership would have been out the question, like splashing 60 million on Isak and 40 odd million on Guimaraes and stuff like that. But they've bought players in moderation. You know, Tonali this season, something like 50 million. It's not, you know, it's not an unbelievable amount of money for a club of Newcastle size, and I think that they've legislated with financial fair play very well, and their rising has been much due to their performances as the new ownership. But obviously recently you've seen them top Saudi clubs buy in top European talent, much the likes of Riyad Mahrez is potentially going there. Cristiano Ronaldo was back in January. He was the first big player to move over there. Ruben Neves has gone over there. Lots of Chelsea players, Koulibaly, Edouard Mendy, and it's just becoming riddled. Lots of top European talent. News has just broke within the last day or so of them putting a €300 million bid in for Kylian Mbappe, which PSG has accepted. Now that's up to the player to decide whether he wants to go. The financial package offered is massive. I think it's something like €700 million over the next year, and then obviously he can move on to Real Madrid after that. So that's obviously something Mbappe to consider, but should he accept that, that's a massive coup for Saudi Arabia, and something again nobody would have seen coming in the last 10 years. There's been history of countries buying top European talents and top talents around the world. It started with Anchi in Russia. They came in and they just bought a lot of older players, but obviously that didn't work out and they ended up going bankrupt. And then you had the Chinese league buyout a few years later, but there was quickly laws and regulations brought in by the Chinese league to protect their players, which meant you could only have 3 overseas players per squad, which obviously stopped that. And then they had the wage cap as well, so that put an end to that. But obviously it looks like the Saudi PIF group, they have an unlimited resource of money, so they have put no regulations in place, so they just buy in players constantly. And who knows where it'll stop, especially if Kylian Mbappe ends up going there. It could be a bit troubling for all the European leagues, because they could attract even more players to go there in the future. Moving on to wealth and greed, it's owners of major clubs wanting to form a European Super League. Now this started back in 2018 when Florentino Perez approached major club owners and talked about this association by creating this league to effectively have like a franchise league, only a maximum of 20. I think it was going to start with 12 different teams, but then grow to 20 different European teams, each forming a league, each playing each other, gaining massive amount of money generated from this. And it just turned out to be greed. It's taken away from the football pyramid, and that is something that all fans turned on, all the owners of all these clubs. Before last season there was only 3 teams left wanting the Super League, and that was Juventus, Real Madrid and Barcelona. 2 of the 3 clubs in massive debt, and many of the owners then had to come out, write or record apologies for their fans, and then obviously take themselves away from this European Super League, which luckily for all football did not form. Next, we're moving on to Arsenal. Arsenal have now got the most expensive squad in the world. They overtook Manchester City according to Transfer Market, and are now valued at a total of 1.21 billion euros, overtaking Manchester City. Back 10 years ago, Arsenal were fighting for 4th place for the majority of the time during Arsene Wenger's last few years at the club. They were winning a few trophies. I think they won a couple of FA Cups during this last 10 years. But other than that, nobody would have thought that Arsenal would have gained the types of players they have. A lot of them have come from their academy, which has done excellent in all fairness. Their recruitment's been amazing. They're picking up Martin Odegaard for cheap. He's turned out to be a very good player and captain for the club. And then obviously further that, they've been able to make high purchase signings, especially this summer. I think that since Arteta's reign, they've spent something like 600 odd million on transfers. So in a way, it's predicted that you spend money on transfers, your squad value is going to increase. But also the players that have come through the academy and they bought very young have also developed into very good players, such as Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard, like I said, and those players have gone up in transfer value. Next, we're going on to probably the most famous one of the lot, and that's Leicester City winning the Premier League. In the seasons prior to Leicester winning the Premier League, they were fighting relegation. The season before they won the league, they finished 17th, so nobody in their right mind would have predicted that they would have finished champions the season later. Obviously that happened. They ended up beating Arsenal by 9 points, and somehow Arsenal even finished ahead of Spurs. It was a 2-horse race between Leicester and Spurs for the last 10 games of the season, and obviously Leicester came out on top with Tottenham fading away. But like I said, the odds for Leicester to win that league that season were 5,000 to 1. Deemed impossible. yet they did the impossible and lifted the illustrious Premier League trophy for the first time, which again was one of the greatest feats, possibly the greatest feat in sports history. And lastly, it's a surprising one, and that's Luton Town in the Premier League. 10 years ago, they were in. They'd just won the Conference Premier, so they were only just getting back into the Football League. So they started the 14-15 season in League 2. Forward that 8 years, and now they're in the Premier League. What a story for Luton Town. And the only other thing you can think of is, how are Wrexham going to do? You know, they've just come into the Football League. They have huge financial backing, and it will be great to see how they progress now under these celebrity owners with the financial backing from many different areas. And you know, in 5 to 8 years, you could well see something similar with Wrexham Town. Right, that is the end of this video. Obviously, remember, don't forget about the giveaway that I've got on my Twitter. You know, for that Trent Alexander-Arnold signed Premier League medal. Once I hit 100 followers and 100 subscribers, that will be drawn live, like I said, on Facebook. But other than that, if you like this video, please like, comment and subscribe. Like I said, it'll only help me out for future videos, get us a bit on the algorithm, boost the channel and support as much as it can. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.